It moves through the landscapes of the Americas under many names, each shaped by the voices that have known it. Mountain lion, cougar, puma, panther, different words for the same quiet presence. In forests, deserts, and mountains, it passes largely unseen, a predator defined not by display, but by silence. Across 2 continents, its identity shifts in language, yet its nature remains constant, a solitary figure woven into the fabric of the wild. Part 1. Origins. It begins with a lineage that carries both familiarity and quiet distinction, a branch of the feline family tree that diverged long ago from the roaring giants. The mountain lion, known scientifically as Puma concolor, belongs to a lineage more closely aligned with smaller cats than with the great roaring members of the genus Panthera. It cannot roar, yet it is no less formidable. Instead, it purrs, chirps, and emits a piercing scream that can echo through valleys like a human cry carried on the wind. Its closest living relatives are not lions or tigers, but smaller felines such as the jaguarundi and the cheetah, sharing an ancient common ancestry that favored speed, flexibility, and precision over brute force. This evolutionary path shaped a predator of remarkable efficiency, one that relies not on dominance in open confrontation, but on silence, timing, and control. Over vast stretches of time, the ancestors of the mountain lion spread across the Americas, adapting to shifting climates, rising mountain ranges, and changing prey. Genetic continuity remains surprisingly strong across this immense range, so much so that modern science recognizes only 2 broad subspecies, one occupying North America and another extending through Central and South America. From the frozen edges of Canada to the windswept plains of Patagonia, the mountain lion inhabits one of the widest ranges of any terrestrial mammal in the Western Hemisphere. It moves through coniferous forests heavy with snow, deserts where heat shimmers above the ground, tropical jungles dense with layered vegetation, and rugged mountain ranges where cliffs and ravines offer both refuge and vantage. This adaptability is not merely physical, but behavioral. In colder regions, it grows a thicker coat and moves across snow with measured efficiency, often following the trails of deer. In arid landscapes, it becomes more nocturnal, conserving energy and water while navigating terrain that offers little cover. In dense forests, it becomes almost invisible, a presence more often sensed than seen. Across these varied habitats, prey availability shapes its movements and survival. Deer form the foundation of its diet in many regions, animals that themselves are alert, swift, and capable of sudden bursts of speed. Yet the mountain lion is not limited to a single prey type. It hunts elk, whose mass can exceed several times its own, relying on precision to overcome size. In the southern reaches of its range, it stalks guanaco across open landscapes, adjusting its tactics to suit terrain that offers little concealment. It may take smaller animals when necessary, from hares and rodents to birds, ensuring survival when larger prey is scarce. The act of hunting reveals the essence of the mountain lion's design. It does not chase over long distances, nor does it rely on endurance. Instead, it approaches with patience, each step placed with care, its padded paws absorbing sound. The long tail acts as a counterbalance, stabilizing the body as it navigates uneven ground. Muscles coil beneath the surface, storing potential energy. When the moment arrives, it launches forward in a burst of control power, capable of covering extraordinary distances in a single bound. The attack is directed with precision, aimed at the neck or base of the skull, where a well-placed bite can end the struggle quickly. Against large prey such as elk, it may cling and adjust its grip, using body weight and leverage to bring the animal down. Despite this capacity to take animals far larger than itself, the mountain lion remains a cautious predator. Injury can mean death in the wild, and so it often prefers prey that offers less risk. After a successful kill, it may drag the carcass across considerable distances, even uphill, to a secluded location. There it feeds and then covers the remains with leaves, soil, or snow, returning over subsequent days. This behavior reflects both efficiency and awareness, an understanding that other predators may be drawn to the scent of a kill. In the quiet spaces of its territory, the mountain lion lives a largely solitary life. Encounters between adults are rare and often brief, governed by boundaries that can span vast areas. Males maintain large territories that may overlap with those of several females, while avoiding direct conflict whenever possible. Communication occurs through scent marking, scratch marks on trees, and occasional vocalizations that carry across distance. These signals form an invisible map, allowing individuals to navigate a shared landscape without constant confrontation. Reproduction introduces a temporary shift in this solitude. A female raises her cubs alone, choosing a den in a sheltered location such as a rocky crevice or dense thicket. The cubs are born blind and marked with spots that provide camouflage, their appearance gradually changing as they grow. Over many months, they learn to move, to observe, and eventually to hunt, guided by the presence of their mother. She brings them to kills, allows them to practice, and gradually reduces her direct support. After 1 to 2 years, they disperse, setting out into territories of their own, a journey that carries both risk and necessity. Throughout its range, the mountain lion exists within a network of interactions that extend beyond predator and prey. It may encounter wolves, bears, or jaguars, each representing a potential competitor. In some regions, it yields space to larger or more socially dominant species, adjusting its activity patterns to avoid direct conflict. Smaller animals, such as scavenging birds, follow its movements indirectly, feeding on the remains of its kills. In this way, its presence influences the distribution and behavior of many other species, shaping the ecosystem in subtle but significant ways. Human interaction with the mountain lion stretches deep into history, woven into both practical encounters and symbolic meaning. Indigenous cultures across the Americas have long recognized its qualities, seeing in it a representation of strength, patience, and the unseen forces of the natural world. In the Andean civilizations, the puma stood as a symbol of the earthly realm, paired with the condor and the serpent in a triad that reflected a layered universe. Farther north, it appeared in stories as a guardian or a figure of respect, its elusive nature lending it an almost spiritual presence. Encounters between humans and mountain lions are rare, and attacks rarer still. When they occur, they often arise from specific circumstances, such as the presence of young individuals learning to hunt, or the pressures of habitat loss that bring predator and human into closer proximity. Even then, the mountain lion remains a species that tends to avoid direct contact, slipping away before it is seen. In the modern world, conservation of the mountain lion reflects both its resilience and its vulnerability. It continues to occupy a vast range, yet faces challenges from habitat fragmentation, declining prey populations, and conflict with human interests. Protected areas offer refuge, but connectivity between them is equally important, allowing genetic exchange and the natural movement of individuals. Efforts to preserve corridors and reduce conflict aim to maintain not only the species itself, but the ecological balance it supports. In this balance, the mountain lion persists as a quiet force. It does not dominate through spectacle, nor does it announce its presence with sound. Instead, it exists in the margins, shaping the world through actions rarely witnessed. Its story is not one of conquest, but of adaptation, restraint, and enduring presence across a continent that continues to change around it. Part 2. Habitats. Across its immense range, the mountain lion moves through a mosaic of environments that shift in form and intensity, yet remain connected by a single requirement: the presence of cover, prey, and space. It is not bound to one landscape, nor defined by a single climate. Instead, it persists through contrast, from the shadowed forests of the north to the exposed plateaus of the south, adjusting its rhythms to the conditions of each place. In the boreal forests of northern North America, where winter lingers and snow deepens across the ground, the mountain lion becomes a creature of quiet endurance. Its coat thickens, offering insulation against the cold, while its movements grow measured and deliberate. It often follows the packed trails of deer, conserving energy as it navigates terrain where each step in deep snow carries a cost. Coniferous trees provide both shelter and concealment, their dense branches breaking the wind and casting shadows that blur the outline of a stalking predator. In such environments, success depends not only on strength, but on efficiency, the careful balance between effort and reward. Farther south, temperate forests give way to more varied landscapes, where mountains rise in layered ridges and valleys open into grasslands. Here, the mountain lion favors areas where forest edges meet open ground, places where prey animals move between feeding and cover. Rocky outcrops, fallen logs, and dense undergrowth offer vantage points and hiding places, allowing the predator to approach unseen. Elevation plays a role as well. In mountainous regions, it may traverse steep slopes with ease, using its powerful limbs and long tail to maintain balance across uneven terrain. These highlands provide not only refuge from human presence, but also access to prey that migrate along seasonal routes. In arid deserts, where water is scarce and temperatures can shift dramatically between day and night, the mountain lion alters its behavior once again. Activity shifts toward the cooler hours, and movement becomes more conservative. Vegetation is sparse, yet even here there are pockets of concealment, dry washes, rocky crevices, and clusters of shrubs that break the open expanse. Prey species gather around limited water sources, creating predictable patterns that the mountain lion learns and exploits. Survival in such conditions depends on restraint, on the ability to wait, observe, and act only when the outcome is favorable. Tropical and subtropical regions present a different challenge, one of density rather than scarcity. In the forests of Central and South America, vegetation forms layers upon layers, limiting visibility, but offering abundant cover. Here, the mountain lion becomes almost entirely unseen, moving through thick undergrowth with a fluidity shaped by generations of adaptation. It shares these environments with other large predators, and so its movements are influenced not only by prey but by the presence of competitors. It may avoid certain areas or shift its activity to reduce the risk of confrontation, maintaining a balance that allows multiple species to coexist within the same landscape. Across the open plains and steppe-like regions of the south, where grasses stretch across wide distances and cover is limited, the mountain lion relies on terrain features that interrupt the horizon. Small rises, scattered rocks, and patches of vegetation become critical tools, used to close the distance between predator and prey. In these environments, patience becomes even more essential. The approach must be timed with precision, often requiring long periods of stillness followed by a sudden burst of speed. The absence of dense cover does not eliminate the possibility of ambush, but it narrows the margin for error. Despite these varied habitats, certain patterns remain consistent. The mountain lion avoids areas of constant disturbance, seeking instead regions where it can move without interruption. It is drawn to edges and transitions, where different types of terrain meet and create opportunities for concealment and approach. Water sources, migration paths, and seasonal changes all influence its movements, shaping territories that can span hundreds of square kilometers. These territories are not static. They shift in response to prey availability, competition, and environmental change, reflecting a dynamic relationship between the predator and the land it inhabits. Within this vast range, differences between the two recognized subspecies emerge not as sharp divisions, but as gradual transitions shaped by geography. In the north, individuals tend to be larger, their bodies adapted to colder climates and larger prey, such as elk. In the south, variation increases across regions influenced by altitude, temperature, and prey diversity. Yet the underlying genetic continuity remains, a reminder that this is a species defined less by fragmentation and more by connection. Human expansion has introduced new elements into these landscapes, altering the patterns that once guided the movements of the mountain lion. Roads, settlements, and fragmented habitats create barriers and corridors that did not exist before. In some areas, the mountain lion adapts, moving along the edges of human presence, using the cover of night to navigate spaces shaped by artificial light and sound. In others, it retreats, avoiding regions where survival becomes uncertain. Even so, it endures. Its ability to occupy such a wide range of environments speaks to a flexibility that few large predators possess. It does not depend on a single ecosystem, nor does it require a narrow set of conditions. Instead, it persists through variation, adjusting its behavior and movement to the demands of each landscape. In doing so, it becomes not a creature of one place, but of many, a presence that threads through forests, mountains, deserts, and plains, connecting them through a shared pattern of quiet, deliberate motion. This adaptability defines its existence. It is not the ruler of a single domain, but a traveler across many, shaped by each and confined by none. Part 3. Prey. Wherever the mountain lion moves, the presence of prey defines both its path and its purpose. Across its vast range, the types of animals it hunts shift with geography, yet certain patterns remain consistent. It is a predator shaped not by specialization on a single species, but by an ability to adapt its diet to what the land provides, always favoring opportunity balanced against risk. In much of North America, deer form the foundation of its diet. Species such as mule deer and white-tailed deer move through forests, grasslands, and mountain slopes, creating predictable routes between feeding areas and cover. These animals are alert and capable of rapid escape, yet they are also creatures of habit, and it is this predictability that the mountain lion exploits. By studying movement patterns and selecting terrain that limits escape, it positions itself where a brief moment of proximity can be transformed into a successful hunt. Beyond deer, larger prey becomes available in certain regions. Elk represent one of the most substantial animals regularly taken by mountain lions, often weighing several times more than the predator itself. To hunt such prey requires not only strength, but careful selection. Individuals that are injured, young, or momentarily separated from the herd present opportunities where risk is reduced. The mountain lion does not seek confrontation with the strongest members of a group. Instead, it identifies vulnerability, acting with precision when the balance shifts in its favor. In the northern reaches of its range, encounters with moose occur less frequently, yet they represent some of the largest potential prey. Calves are more commonly targeted, their size still formidable but manageable. On rare occasions, weakened adult moose may also be attacked, though such events carry significant danger. A misjudged strike against an animal of such size can result in injury, and in the wild, even a minor wound can become fatal over time. For this reason, the mountain lion's choices reflect restraint as much as capability. Moving southward, the composition of prey changes. In Central and South America, the mountain lion hunts animals such as guanaco, a large camelid adapted to open and often windswept terrain. These animals are swift and capable of sustained movement, requiring the predator to rely even more heavily on terrain and timing. Smaller prey, including rodents, birds, and reptiles, also contribute to the diet, particularly in environments where larger animals are less abundant. This flexibility allows the mountain lion to persist in regions where other large predators might struggle. The distinction between the two recognized subspecies is reflected not in rigid boundaries, but in tendencies shaped by environment. In the northern subspecies, where larger ungulates dominate the landscape, hunts involving deer and elk are central to survival. In the southern subspecies, diversity of prey increases, and the mountain lion's diet becomes broader, incorporating a wider range of animals. Yet the underlying strategy remains unchanged. It seeks prey that can be taken with minimal risk, balancing energy expenditure against the likelihood of success. Even within a single territory, diet can vary with season. During times when young animals are abundant, opportunities increase, and the mountain lion may take advantage of individuals that lack experience. In harsher seasons, when prey becomes scarce or more vigilant, it may shift towards smaller animals, ensuring continued survival through adaptation rather than reliance on a single food source. This seasonal flexibility reflects a deeper pattern of responsiveness, a capacity to adjust behavior as conditions change. Despite its ability to take large prey, the mountain lion does not hunt indiscriminately. Each decision carries consequences, and the cost of failure can be high. Large animals provide substantial nourishment, yet they also require greater effort and carry greater risk. Smaller animals offer less reward, but can often be taken with reduced danger. The balance between these options shapes the predator's behavior, guiding it toward choices that sustain rather than endanger. In rare instances, the mountain lion may turn to animals associated with human presence, such as livestock or horses. These events often occur in areas where natural prey has declined, or where habitats overlap with human activity. While such prey can be large and relatively unguarded, they also bring the risk of conflict, drawing attention that the mountain lion would otherwise avoid. As with all aspects of its behavior, these choices reflect circumstance rather than preference. What emerges from this pattern is a portrait of a predator defined by precision and restraint. It is capable of bringing down animals many times its own size, yet it does so selectively, guided by an awareness of its own limitations. Its diet is neither fixed nor random, but shaped by an ongoing negotiation between opportunity and risk. In this way, the mountain lion occupies a unique position among large predators. It is neither a specialist bound to a narrow ecological role, nor a generalist without focus. Instead, it moves between these states, adjusting its approach to the conditions it encounters. Its prey may vary, its methods may shift, but the underlying principle remains constant: survival through careful choice, through the ability to recognize when to act and when to wait. This relationship between predator and prey extends beyond individual hunts. By selecting certain animals and leaving others, the mountain lion influences the structure of populations, contributing to a balance that affects vegetation, other animals, and the broader ecosystem. Its presence is not always visible, yet its impact is felt in the patterns of movement, the distribution of species, and the quiet adjustments that ripple through the environment. In the end, the mountain lion's diet tells a story not only of what it consumes, but of how it exists. It is a story of adaptation, of measured risk, and of a predator that survives not by overwhelming force, but by understanding the limits within which it must operate. Part 4. The hunt. The moment of the hunt begins, long before movement becomes visible. It takes shape in stillness, in the gradual alignment of terrain, wind, and distance. The mountain lion does not rush toward opportunity. It waits for it to unfold. Its body lowers toward the ground, muscles held in quiet tension, each step placed with deliberate care. Even dry leaves and loose stones are negotiated with precision, its padded paws absorbing sound, its whiskers sensing the space ahead in darkness or dense cover. Vision plays a central role, particularly in low light. The mountain lion's eyes gather what little illumination remains at dusk or before dawn, allowing it to detect subtle motion where other animals would see only shadow. Its ears pivot independently, capturing faint sounds carried across distance, while scent provides additional context, revealing the recent passage of prey. These senses do not act in isolation, but combine into a continuous assessment of the environment, guiding each movement forward. The approach is often indirect. Rather than moving in a straight line, the mountain lion circles, using terrain to conceal its presence. Ridges, fallen trees, and variations in elevation become tools, allowing it to remain unseen until the final moment. Distance is reduced gradually, often to only a few meters. At this range, the outcome depends on timing. A premature movement can alert the prey, triggering flight before contact is made. A delayed strike can allow the opportunity to pass. The mountain lion waits for a moment when attention shifts, when the prey's awareness narrows or its position becomes exposed. When the decision is made, the transition from stillness to motion is immediate. The body releases stored energy in a sudden burst, covering ground with remarkable speed. It is not a prolonged chase, but a single decisive action. The hind legs drive the body forward, capable of propelling it across distances that can exceed many times its own length. The tail extends and adjusts, maintaining balance as direction shifts in midair. Claws extend just before contact, securing the initial hold. The point of impact is critical. The mountain lion aims for the back or side of the prey, using momentum to unbalance it. Against smaller animals, this may be enough to bring them down instantly. Against larger prey, such as deer or elk, the struggle continues. The mountain lion clings, adjusting its grip as the animal attempts to escape. Its forelimbs hold, while the hind legs may deliver powerful kicks, further destabilizing the target. Throughout this struggle, it seeks access to the neck, where a precise bite can end resistance. The killing bite is not random. It is directed toward the cervical region, where the spinal cord can be severed or compressed. In some cases, it may target the throat, restricting airflow and blood flow to the brain. The exact method depends on the position of both predator and prey, as well as the dynamics of the struggle. What remains constant is the focus on efficiency. The mountain lion does not prolong the encounter beyond what is necessary. Every movement is directed toward a swift conclusion, minimizing the risk of injury. Against very large prey, the process may take longer. The animal may resist, attempting to shake off its attacker or reach a position where it can strike back. In these moments, the mountain lion's strength lies not in overpowering force, but in persistence and control. It maintains its hold, adjusting position, waiting for the moment when resistance weakens. The struggle is a test of endurance as much as strength, and the outcome depends on the predator's ability to maintain contact without exposing itself to harm. The success of such hunts is not guaranteed. Many attempts end in failure, the prey escaping after detecting the approach or breaking free during the initial contact. These failures are not wasted efforts, but part of a broader pattern in which only a fraction of attempts result in a kill. This low success rate reinforces the need for precision. Energy must be conserved, and risks carefully managed. Each hunt is an investment, and the mountain lion cannot afford repeated costly mistakes. Once the prey is subdued, behavior shifts again. The intensity of the hunt gives way to caution. The mountain lion surveys its surroundings, aware that the scent and sounds of the struggle may attract other predators or scavengers. If the location is exposed, it may drag the carcass to a more secluded area, using its strength to move animals that can outweigh it several times over. This movement may cover significant distance, even across uneven terrain or uphill slopes. Feeding begins with select areas of the carcass, often focusing on nutrient-rich organs and muscle tissue. The mountain lion does not consume the entire prey at once. Instead, it feeds over several days, returning repeatedly. Between visits, it may cover the remains with leaves, soil, or snow, reducing visibility and scent. This behavior, sometimes described as caching, reflects both efficiency and awareness. It allows the predator to extend the value of a single successful hunt, while reducing the likelihood of losing it to competitors. Throughout this process, the mountain lion remains alert. Even while feeding, it pauses, listening for distant sounds or changes in the environment. The presence of larger predators, such as bears or wolves, can force it to abandon a kill. In such cases, it does not attempt to defend the carcass through direct confrontation. Instead, it yields, preserving its own safety and seeking another opportunity elsewhere. The biomechanics of the mountain lion reflect a design optimized for this style of hunting. Its limbs provide both power and flexibility. Its spine allows for extension and contraction that enhances stride length, and its musculature supports explosive movement. The long tail serves not only as a counterbalance during leaps, but also as a stabilizing force during rapid changes in direction. Each element contributes to a system built for brief, decisive action rather than sustained pursuit. In the broader context of its existence, the hunt is both a necessity and a defining characteristic. It shapes the mountain lion's movements, its choices, and its interactions with the environment. It is an expression of adaptation, refined over countless generations, where success depends not on dominance alone, but on the ability to act with precision at the right moment. Within this pattern, the mountain lion remains a creature of balance. It does not rely on overwhelming force, nor does it depend on numbers. Instead, it operates within a narrow margin, where timing, position, and control determine the outcome. Each hunt is a convergence of these elements, a brief and often unseen event that sustains a life shaped by quiet persistence. Part 5. Family life. Life begins in concealment, in places chosen not for comfort, but for safety. A female mountain lion seeks out a den before giving birth, selecting locations that reduce exposure to both predators and disturbance. Rocky crevices, dense thickets, hollowed spaces beneath fallen trees, or sheltered ledges provide the seclusion required for the earlier stage of life. These sites are temporary, used only for a short period before the growing needs of the young demand movement and change. After a gestation period of roughly 3 months, the cubs are born blind and entirely dependent. Their bodies are small and marked with dark spots that break their outline against the uneven patterns of light and shadow. Their eyes remain closed for several days, and their movements are limited, guided only by touch and the presence of their mother. During this time, she remains close, leaving only briefly to hunt, returning with urgency to ensure their survival. The den is not a place of permanence, but of transition, a first refuge before the wider world gradually unfolds. As the cubs grow, their senses sharpen. Their eyes open, revealing a blue coloration that will later change, and their movements become more coordinated. Curiosity emerges alongside caution. They begin to explore the immediate surroundings of the den, testing their strength and balance in small, tentative steps. The mother responds by relocating them periodically, carrying each cub gently in her jaws to new sites. This movement reduces the buildup of scent and lowers the risk of detection by other predators. Milk provides the foundation of their early development, yet it is not long before they are introduced to meat. The mother brings prey to the cubs, allowing them to interact with it, to smell and taste what will become their primary source of nourishment. At first, their attempts are clumsy, more play than purpose, but through repetition, instinct begins to take shape. They paw, bite, and tug, mimicking behaviors that will later define their survival. The period of learning extends over many months. As the cubs grow stronger, they accompany their mother to kills, observing how she feeds and how she remains alert, even in moments of apparent calm. Gradually, they are allowed to follow her on short movements, then longer ones, learning to navigate the terrain, to move quietly, and to remain attentive to their surroundings. Play becomes a critical component of this development. Through chasing, wrestling, and stalking one another, they refine coordination and timing, building the physical and behavioral foundation required for hunting. The relationship between mother and cubs is defined by both care and gradual independence. She provides food, protection, and guidance, yet she does not shield them from every challenge. Instead, she allows them to experience difficulty in controlled ways, preparing them for a life where survival depends on their own abilities. As they approach 1 year of age, they begin to participate more actively in hunts, attempting to engage prey, though success remains limited. These early attempts are part of a longer process, where failure serves as instruction rather than defeat. During this period, the cubs remain together, forming a temporary social unit bound by shared origin and experience. They interact frequently, their behaviors ranging from cooperation to competition. Siblings may share access to food, yet they also establish subtle hierarchies, each testing its position within the group. These interactions contribute to the development of social awareness, even in a species that will later live largely in solitude. As time progresses, The demands on the mother increase. She must provide for growing bodies while maintaining vigilance against potential threats. Larger predators, such as bears or wolves in certain regions, may pose a danger to cubs, and even adult males can represent a risk under specific circumstances. The choice of den sites, the timing of movements, and the selection of hunting grounds all reflect an ongoing effort to balance nourishment with safety. Eventually, the period of dependence reaches its end. At around 1 to 2 years of age, the young mountain lions begin to disperse. This transition is not marked by a single event, but by a gradual separation. The mother becomes less tolerant of their presence, and the siblings themselves begin to move in different directions. Each individual sets out to establish its own territory, a process that can involve traveling long distances across unfamiliar terrain. Dispersal is a time of heightened vulnerability. Young mountain lions must navigate landscapes that may already be occupied by established adults, requiring them to avoid confrontation while searching for suitable space. Many do not survive this stage, facing challenges that range from competition and starvation to encounters with humans. Yet those that succeed carry forward the knowledge gained during their early years, applying it to a life now defined by independence. Reproduction itself is not bound to a strict seasonal cycle across the entire range of the species. Instead, timing can vary depending on environmental conditions and the availability of resources. In regions where prey is abundant, births may occur throughout the year. This flexibility reflects the broader adaptability of the mountain lion, allowing it to align its reproductive cycle with conditions that favor the survival of its offspring. The continuity of life within this species depends on a balance between care and separation, between the protection offered in early stages and the independence required for adulthood. Each generation follows a similar path, shaped by instinct yet refined through experience. The bond between mother and cubs is temporary, but its influence extends far beyond its duration, preparing individuals for a life that will unfold in solitude. In this cycle, the mountain lion reveals another aspect of its nature. Beneath the quiet presence of a solitary predator lies a period of close connection, of learning and guidance, where survival is passed not only through instinct, but through observation and shared experience. It is within this hidden chapter that the foundations of its existence are laid, ensuring that the pattern continues across landscapes that remain both familiar and ever-changing. Part 6. Social bonds. Encounters between adult mountain lions are infrequent, yet their absence does not imply isolation without structure. Beneath the quiet surface of their movements lies a network of relationships defined by space, timing, and subtle communication. Each individual occupies a territory that overlaps in complex ways with those of others, forming a shifting mosaic rather than rigid boundaries. Within this arrangement, conflict is minimized not through strength alone, but through recognition and avoidance. Males establish the largest territories, often encompassing the ranges of several females. These territories are not defended through constant patrol or direct confrontation, but through signals left across the landscape. Scratches carved into tree bark, scat placed along trails, and scent marks deposited at key points act as markers of presence. These signs are read by others with precision, allowing individuals to assess who occupies an area without ever meeting face to face. Through this system, the mountain lion maintains distance, reducing the likelihood of encounters that could lead to injury. When two adults do cross paths, the interaction is usually brief. One yields, stepping away before tension escalates, Direct fights are rare, as the cost of injury is too great. Even a small wound can compromise the ability to hunt, turning strength into vulnerability. For this reason, restraint governs behavior. The mountain lion is capable of violence, yet it avoids unnecessary risk, favoring withdrawal over confrontation. The relationship between males and females is shaped by this same balance. For most of the year, they move independently, their paths intersecting only when conditions align for reproduction. During this period, vocalizations become more frequent. The otherwise quiet animal produces sounds that carry across distance, signaling readiness and location. These calls, often described as piercing or almost human in tone, mark a temporary shift from silence to expression. When a male and female come together, their interaction is cautious at first. They may circle one another, observing and responding to subtle cues before closing the distance. Over several days, they remain in proximity, mating repeatedly before separating once again. The bond is brief, leaving the female to carry and later raise the cubs alone. The male does not participate in parental care, and his role within the cycle is limited to this short period of contact. Among siblings, a different form of relationship develops during the early stages of life. Cubs remain together for many months, sharing space, food, and experience. Their interactions are frequent and varied, ranging from cooperative play to moments of competition. Through these exchanges, they learn the physical and behavioral skills required for survival. They stalk one another in imitation of hunting, test their strength through wrestling, and respond to each other's movements with growing coordination. As they mature, subtle differences begin to emerge. Some individuals show greater boldness, others greater caution. These traits influence how they approach new situations, shaping their chances of survival once independence is reached. Despite these differences, the bond between siblings remains strong during this period, providing both companionship and a shared framework for learning. Territorial overlap introduces another layer of interaction. While adult mountain lions avoid direct encounters, their ranges may intersect at the edges. These shared spaces are navigated with care, often used at different times to reduce the chance of meeting. A female with cubs may alter her movements to avoid a male's territory, while a younger individual may skirt the boundaries of an established adult, seeking areas not yet claimed. In this way, the landscape becomes a dynamic system of movement and avoidance, shaped by the presence of multiple individuals who rarely see one another. Communication within this system relies heavily on indirect signals. Scent carries information about identity, reproductive status, and the timing of an individual's passage. Scratch marks provide visual cues, reinforcing the presence of a resident. Even the remains of a kill can serve as a signal, indicating recent activity in an area. These forms of communication allow the mountain lion to maintain awareness of others without direct contact, preserving both safety and energy. There are moments, however, when this balance shifts. Disputes over territory, encounters between competing males, or the presence of a female in estrus can lead to more direct interactions. In such cases, displays of strength may occur, with vocalizations, posturing, and brief physical engagement determining the outcome. These encounters are typically resolved quickly, with one individual withdrawing before serious injury occurs. The solitary nature of the mountain lion is therefore not a complete absence of social structure, but a different form of organization. Relationships exist, but they are expressed through distance rather than proximity, through signals rather than sustained contact. Each individual moves within a shared framework, responding to the presence of others while maintaining independence. As young mountain lions disperse, they enter this system, learning to interpret the signs left by others and to establish their own place within the landscape. This transition marks the shift from the close interactions of early life to the more distant relationships of adulthood. It is a process that requires both awareness and restraint, qualities that define the species as a whole. In this quiet network, the mountain lion reveals a form of social existence that is subtle yet complex. It is not built on constant interaction, but on the careful management of space and the ability to communicate without being seen. Through this balance, individuals coexist across vast areas, their lives intersecting in ways that remain largely hidden, yet essential to the continuity of the species. Part 7. Rivals. Within the landscapes it inhabits, the mountain lion exists not in isolation, but as part of a broader community of animals whose lives intersect in complex and often indirect ways. Some of these relationships are defined by competition, others by opportunity, and many by a quiet coexistence shaped by mutual awareness rather than constant interaction. In each case, the presence of the mountain lion influences and is influenced by the species around it. Among its most significant rivals in North America are wolves, animals whose strength lies not in solitary precision, but in coordinated effort. Where their ranges overlap, the two predators interact through contrast. Wolves move in groups, capable of defending their kills and challenging intruders through numbers. The mountain lion, by comparison, avoids direct confrontation, yielding space when necessary. It may shift its hunting times, becoming more nocturnal in areas where wolves are active during the day, or it may abandon a kill if a pack arrives. This is not a sign of weakness, but a calculated response, preserving safety in the face of collective force. Bears represent another formidable presence. Both black bears and grizzly bears are capable of displacing a mountain lion from its kill, drawn by the scent of fresh meat. A single bear can overpower a mountain lion in a direct encounter, and so the predator relies on caution, often feeding quickly and retreating before being discovered. In some cases, it may return later, assessing whether the carcass remains usable. These interactions reflect a hierarchy not of dominance alone, but of size and opportunism, where the outcome depends on circumstance. In the southern reaches of its range, the mountain lion shares territory with the jaguar, a predator of comparable size but greater mass and bite force. Here, the balance shifts again. The jaguar, built for power and capable of subduing heavily armored prey, occupies a niche that overlaps but does not fully coincide with that of the mountain lion. Where they meet, the mountain lion often avoids direct competition, adjusting its movements to reduce encounters. This separation allows both species to persist within the same regions, each following a slightly different path through the landscape. Beyond these major competitors, a wide array of animals interact with the mountain lion in more subtle ways. Scavenging birds, such as vultures, circle above the aftermath of a hunt, their keen eyesight detecting carcasses that lie hidden from view at ground level. Their presence can serve as an unintended signal, revealing the location of a kill to other predators. At the same time, these birds benefit from the remains left behind, feeding on what the mountain lion does not consume. Smaller scavengers, including foxes and various rodents, may also approach once the predator has departed, contributing to the gradual return of nutrients to the ecosystem. There are also species that interact with the mountain lion without falling into the roles of prey or competitor. Coyotes, for example, may follow at a distance, drawn by the possibility of scavenging, yet cautious enough to avoid direct conflict. Their presence reflects a relationship of proximity rather than confrontation, one that fluctuates depending on opportunity and risk. Similarly, smaller carnivores may adjust their behavior in response to the mountain lion's movements, altering their activity patterns to avoid overlap. Even herbivores that are not commonly hunted can be influenced by the presence of the mountain lion. The mere possibility of predation shapes their behavior, affecting where they feed, how they move, and how they respond to the landscape. This indirect influence extends across entire ecosystems, creating patterns that are not always visible, but are deeply embedded in the rhythms of the environment. In certain regions, interactions extend to species that share resources rather than compete for them directly. Birds may use the remains of kills for nesting material, while insects and microorganisms break down what remains, completing a cycle that begins with the hunt and ends with renewal. The mountain lion, though often unseen, becomes a central figure in this process, initiating changes that ripple outward through multiple layers of life. There are also moments of unexpected encounter, where animals cross paths without clear conflict or purpose. A mountain lion may pass near a grazing herd without initiating a hunt, its attention directed elsewhere. It may observe another predator at a distance, choosing not to engage. These moments reflect a level of selectivity that defines its behavior, an ability to move through the presence of others without constant interaction. In all these relationships, a pattern emerges. The mountain lion does not dominate its environment through constant assertion, nor does it withdraw entirely. Instead, it occupies a position of balance, responding to the presence of others with flexibility and restraint. It competes when necessary, avoids when prudent, and coexists where possible. This network of interactions underscores the role of the mountain lion as more than a solitary hunter. It is a participant in a broader system, one in which each action contributes to a chain of responses. Its kills provide sustenance for others, its movements influence behavior across species, and its presence shapes the distribution of life within its range. In this interconnected world, the mountain lion remains a quiet force. It does not seek attention, nor does it leave obvious traces of its influence. Yet its role is woven into the fabric of the ecosystem, linking species through patterns of competition, cooperation, and coexistence. Through these relationships, it becomes part of a larger story, one defined not by isolation, but by connection. Part 8. Human History. Long before written records, the presence of the mountain lion was already woven into human awareness, not only as a physical reality, but as a symbol shaped by observation and imagination. Across the Americas, people encountered this silent predator in forests, mountains, and open plains, often without seeing it directly. Tracks in soft earth, the remains of prey, or a fleeting movement at the edge of vision suggested a presence that was both real and elusive. From these encounters emerged stories that placed the mountain lion within a broader understanding of the world, where animals carried meaning beyond their physical form. In the civilizations of the Andes, the mountain lion held a position of deep symbolic importance. It was associated with the earthly realm, a representation of life, strength, and the visible world in contrast to the skies above and the depths below. In the planning of settlements, this symbolism was made tangible. The city of Cusco was said to be arranged in the shape of a puma, its layout reflecting the form of the animal, embedding the presence of the predator into the structure of human habitation. In this context, the mountain lion was not merely observed, but integrated into the very identity of a place. Farther north, among various indigenous cultures, the mountain lion appeared in stories as a figure of power and restraint. It was often described as a guardian of the wilderness, a being that moved unseen yet remained aware of all that occurred within its domain. Its solitary nature contributed to this perception. Unlike animals that traveled in groups, the mountain lion seemed to act with intention, appearing and disappearing without warning. This quality gave rise to interpretations that linked it to the unseen forces of the natural world, to balance, and to the consequences of action. In parts of South America, the mountain lion was sometimes associated with transformation. Stories spoke of individuals who could take on its form or of spirits that move between human and animal states. These narratives did not present the mountain lion as an enemy, but as a figure that commanded respect, one whose qualities could not be separated from the landscape it inhabited. The mountains, the forests, and the animal itself formed a unified presence, each reinforcing the meaning of the other. Encounters between humans and mountain lions have always been shaped by distance. The animal's tendency to avoid direct contact meant that most interactions occurred indirectly. Yet there were moments when paths crossed more closely. In such instances, the outcome depended on circumstance. The mountain lion, though capable of great power, does not typically seek out humans as prey. Attacks are rare, and when they occur, they are often linked to specific conditions. Young individuals learning to hunt may misinterpret movement, while environmental pressures, such as reduced prey availability or encroachment into habitat, can alter behavior in ways that increase the likelihood of contact. Historical accounts of such encounters vary widely, influenced by perspective and context. In some cases, the mountain lion was portrayed as a threat, particularly in regions where livestock was affected or where fear shaped interpretation. In others, it was regarded with a mixture of caution and respect, an animal to be understood rather than eliminated. These differing views reflect the complexity of human relationships with predators, where practical concerns and symbolic meanings coexist. As human populations expanded, the spaces available to the mountain lion changed. Landscapes that once provided continuous habitat became fragmented, introducing new patterns of movement and interaction. Roads, settlements, and agricultural areas created barriers, but also new edges where encounters could occur. In some regions, the mountain lion adapted, moving along these boundaries, using the cover of night to navigate environments altered by human presence. In others, it withdrew, retreating to areas where disturbance remained limited. Despite these changes, the mountain lion continues to occupy a place in human imagination. Its image appears in art, stories, and cultural expressions that draw upon its characteristics of stealth, strength, and independence. It is not a symbol of dominance in the way that some other large predators are portrayed, but of a quieter form of power, one that operates without display. The causes behind rare instances of predation on humans reveal patterns consistent with the species' broader behavior. These events are not driven by a preference for human prey, but by circumstances that disrupt the usual balance. A lack of experience, scarcity of natural prey, or the presence of individuals unable to hunt typical animals can lead to atypical choices. Even in these cases, such behavior remains uncommon, standing as an exception rather than a defining trait. Across Time, the mountain lion, has remained both present and distant, a figure that moves through human awareness without fully entering it. It is seen in traces, in stories, and in moments of encounter that leave a lasting impression. Its role in myth and history reflects this duality, existing at the boundary between the known and the unseen. In this way, the mountain lion occupies a unique position in the relationship between humans and the natural world. It is neither fully integrated into daily life nor entirely removed from it. Instead, it persists as a presence that reminds of the depth and complexity of the environments we share. Through symbolism, story, and rare encounter, it continues to shape understanding, not through constant visibility, but through the quiet certainty that it is there. The end.